All right. Let me hit go live here right now. It just takes a moment to spool up. That looks good. All indications are green. The meeting is yours, Mr. Chairman. Let me know if you need anything.
Okay, thanks, Kim. I'd like to call the Special Planning Commission meeting of March 18th to order. Will you please do a roll call, and when you answer yay or nay, please give your location.
Kashkarian.
Milford.
Davis.
Here, Milford.
DeVries.
Here, Milford.
Latka.
Here in Milford.
Mellon.
Here in Milford.
Gilo.
Milford.
Magro.
Here in Milford.
Mazzara.
Here, Rocky Top, Tennessee.
DeVries.
Still here in Milford.
Rishka.
Here in Milford, Michigan.
Thank you.
Got it all?
Mr. Chairman, you have a full quorum.
Yay, good deal. All right, has everybody read over the minutes? If so, I would accept the motion to approve the agenda as, I'm sorry, I said minutes, but I meant agenda as written.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Jennifer, do you want us to do a roll call vote on that?
Nope, you're okay with that.
Okay, good, thanks. Okay, motion carried. The agenda is approved as written. We're not doing zoning board or board reports, are we? When?
No, not this week.
I've got an old agenda, I'm sorry, that's my fault. All right. Before we get into the public hearing, I would like to ask the public if they have any comments on non-agenda items at this time. Non-agenda items at this time.
So, yep, if anyone would like to speak to the chairman's topic here, please press *9 on your keypad.
It's it's something that's not on the agenda.
Not on the agenda, correct. Anyone that would like to speak to something that is not on the agenda, please press *9 on your keypad. And one last call. If you would like to speak, please press *9 on your keypad. That will raise your hand and we will call on you. All right, I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. And second.
And that's for Kinzinger. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? I think we'll do a roll call here.
Can I ask who seconded that motion, please?
That was me.
Thank you,
Miles.
Miles.
Okay, Wendy, do a roll call on this.
I sure will. McGrow,
Aye.
Kashkarian,
Aye.
Mazzara,
Aye.
Latka,
Aye.
Mellon,
Aye.
Gilo,
Aye.
Rishka.
Aye.
DeVries,
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Public hearing is open.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. At this time, I know we've gotten a number of email comments, and I would like you to summarize those and put them into the minutes before we get into the official public. I mean, we're in the public hearing, but we.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. So the first letter is from Cheryl Vanderstout, and she lives on Burns Road. She is opposed to the development. I'd like to let the public know that all of these letters did go to the Planning Commission and they have reviewed them. The next letter is from Eric Best from South Shoreline Drive. They are opposed to the development. Okay, I am very sorry. I am not going to get this name correct, but I am going to give it my best. This is from Mr. Solomon Pieces on Rodeo Drive, and they are in opposition of the development, and they did have a couple of suggestions. This letter is from Ralph Emmons on Stonewood Court. Not really supporting or opposed, had some suggestions for the development. This letter is Maureen Mertz from Ravensview Trail, opposed to the development. Lynn Lloyd is a Milford Township resident and is opposed to the development with suggestions, excuse me. And we have a letter. It was one of the first letters we received on the development, and I believe it was February 18th, from West Maple Road homeowners. And there are 10 single-family homes in that area. 8 of the residents signed off on this. They are from Western Pleasure, Rodeo Drive, and West Maple Road. They're not opposed nor for the project. They submitted many questions. And I also want the residents to know that all of these letters have gone to the developer so that they could review your questions and comments. And they're hoping to answer information for you. That is what I have, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Wendy. I really appreciate that. Ken, now can we start getting comments from those that are online that would like to comment at this time?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To any of the phone callers that are in the meeting, feel free to press *9 on your keypad, and that will raise your virtual hand. And we will call on you once we see that your hand is raised. Again, in order to make comment, we ask that you press *9 on your keypad. I am seeing some hands being raised right now.
Okay, remind them, of course, not to be too repetitive, but we'll give them 2 or 3 minutes and let them go.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a reminder to the callers, we ask that you present topics that have not been discussed. If a topic has already been discussed, we just want to be mindful of everyone's time. We would only like to hear topics that are new at this point. Okay, caller with the last 4 digits of 3060. Please press *6 on your keypad. And again, state your name and address for the record and proceed with your comment. Caller with the last 4 digits of 3060. We'll give them just a moment here. I know it can be a little bit tricky. Caller with the last 4 digits of 3060. Press *6 on your keypad to unmute.
And Mr. Chair, they don't have to state their entire address, just the road, their name and the road they live on. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Thanks for reminding.
All right, we'll come back to caller 3060. We do have another caller here. Yes, caller, you're using caller ID blocking, so you're user 2 on my screen. You are unmuted. Feel free to state your name and address for the record and proceed with your comment.
Hi, Tony Matthews, Shoreline Drive. I just wanted to bring to the board, I did review some of the, comments and the plans that were suggested. I think there's been a little bit of oversight in the traffic study. I understand that they used their own vendors and the traffic study concerned just Milford Road and Pontiac Trail. While that is an area of concern concerning Kensington Ridge, I am opposed to the project. The reality is it's already zoned for 1,100 units. So if something is coming to support that area, I think we need to take into consideration North Milford Road. There are several backups that occur between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock from Huron Parkway all the way back into Buno Road and even to Pontiac Trail. Those concerns won't be alleviated by adding congestion and additional traffic to this area. We've already identified in the current study that this area is already failing certain parameters for traffic studies, and the plan proposal will add to these concerns. Now, I understand the developers have addressed the congestion that they would bring to the community. However, there are underlying issues that can't be addressed by Milford, and as acknowledged by the board, Oakland County has no direct interest in the next 5 years. We're probably not on the roadmap. You know, if we're going to turn into a Beck Road, there's no escaping. There's no way to. Beck Road is already congested with tons of residential traffic, and that's not supportive for our community, and that's not a good long-term vision. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
caller.
you, Tony. Thank you.
All right, we'll go on to the next caller. Caller with the last 4 digits, 7204. Please press *6 on your keypad to unmute and state your name and address for the record. Where did we go? That caller went away. All right.
We're in the waiting room.
There are no callers in the waiting room.
I-
All right, the next caller, the last
Hello?
4 digits. Hello?
Hi, I'm 7204, Stephanie Strichars on Shoreline Drive. My comment is with respect to concern for changing, I guess, the overall community that we live in. Shoreline Drive is the neighborhood that immediately abuts where this development is being proposed. And in our neighborhood, you know, when Toll Brothers built it, they were required to abide by a 2-acre minimum average, including our community areas, which is really why my family and I moved to Milford. And to have a neighborhood immediately next to us that is proposing, I think it's on average 3.5 houses per acre, doesn't really make sense. I don't think it's in the best interest of Milford. And I guess my fear in that is it's going to open up other farmland in the future. Once one developer has been approved to build these houses essentially on top of each other, I think Milford itself is going to become a very different community. There's really no reason why a developer can't abide by the current zoning of keeping these houses separate. I mean, this is a rural community, other than to profit on, you know, maximizing as many houses as they can on top of each other. And I guess that's my big opposition to this project. Thank you.
Thank you,
caller.
Stephanie.
All right, we have a few more callers here. And just a reminder to the other callers that are on the line, if you would like to speak, please press *9 on your keypad, and that will raise your virtual hand on our end. And we are taking them one at a time now. The next caller with the last 4 digits of 9163, please press *6 on your keypad and state your name and address for the record. Again, caller 9163. Caller with the last 4 digits of 9163, please press *6 on your keypad to unmute. Okay. Well, we'll come back to that caller. Next caller with the last 4 digits of 6284. Please press *6 on your keypad to unmute. Go ahead and state your name and address for the record, caller, and proceed with your comment.
This is Kanan and Nicole Vilmano calling from North Shoreline Drive. We are opposed to this development. We are newer residents to the neighborhood and to the area of Milford, but our concerns are based on the general overall feel of this end of Oakland County and Milford Township. around the environmental impacts that this development would bring. As previous callers have mentioned, the minimum lot sizes, et cetera, that was done with the grand zoning plan of maintaining the area adjacent to Kensington Park, the state park, and we feel that there's not been sufficient evidence presented as far as noise, water, and wildlife impact to what this development would do to this area. Particularly, I would like to see reports from the DEQ as to their opinion, whether it be fish, deer, or any other type of wildlife, and the potential, not just in runoff, but in sewage potential issues related to Maple Lake and Kent Lake. These environmental concerns are not passing concerns. These are things that are going to stay long after Pulte Homes and any other developer comes in, have packed up and left us, everybody, not just in our neighborhood, but everybody on this screen in Milford Township, to live with the impact. So I don't think that they've done their due diligence as far as the long-term impact, and would ask that the board, bare minimum, delay a decision on this, if not just outright denying the changes, but delay a decision on this until there can be sufficient evidence and a plan put in place to address the environmental impacts of what this is going to be. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, caller. And we have a new caller that has joined us. Again, just a reminder to any of the callers in the meeting, if you would like to speak, you just press *9 on your keypad, and that will raise your virtual hand and allow us to see that you would like to speak. Again, *9. We still have the 2 remaining callers we tried to connect with earlier. Let's go back to them and see if we can make some progress there. Callers with the last 4 digits, 3060. Please press *6 on your keypad, and that will unmute your line, and we'll be able to hear you. There we go. All right, caller, go ahead and state your name and address and proceed with your comment.
Hi, my name is Golapalli. I'm one of the residents in this preserve at Maple Lake. I live on the North Shoreline Drive. I heard my neighbor's comments. I strongly agree with their comments. We moved thinking that Milford is a very beautiful place and a countryside place having a very peaceful environment, and that's where we bought the property here like 14 years back with the Toll Brothers. And I strongly oppose, this is going to cause a lot of disturbance, both in the traffic-wise and nature-wise, and it's going to create a lot of dusty environment, and it's going to definitely affect a lot on our property values too. So I strongly oppose, and also I support my neighbor's comments. Thanks.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to try, we do have a few more coming in here. Caller with the last 4 digits of 4796. Please press *6 on your keypad to unmute and state your name and address for the record and proceed with your comment. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Karen Romansky. We live on South Shoreline Drive, and we've lived in Milford for over 30 years. We originally lived in Mystic Hills Estates, and we moved to Shoreline, the preserves here, and we've been here since 2000, and we've been here for probably about 8 years, and we love the environment. I'm a bike rider. I'm up at Kensington, I go down Maple Road, and I know they're proposing like huge construction along Maple Road, construction equipment. We love the wildlife. We have dogs. We love the lake. We don't want the traffic on Milford Road. That is one of the reasons we moved to this 30 years ago. We want to preserve what we have, and we strongly oppose what it's supposed to happen south of us. And I've been in communities like what they're proposing. I have a friend in Florida, and it's just house upon house upon house, no yards, 3 entrances with horrible traffic, and we strongly oppose it. And we hope that the board will turn this down so we can enjoy our life in Milford, the peaceful life we've had for 30 years. And thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, caller. All right, the next caller is 9163. 9163. Please press *6 on your keypad. 9163. Please press *6 on your keypad. Go ahead, caller, state your name and address and proceed with your your comment.
Yes, hi, Dave Thompson, 2797 Wildermere Drive. A lot of what my feelings resonate with what also has been said. I mean, I guess I just don't see this at all resembling what the master plan should be. The public overwhelmingly supports the master plan, and I hope it stays as is. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, caller. And all right, caller with the last 4 digits of 9598. 9598. Please press *6 on your keypad and state your name and address for the record and proceed with your comment. Go ahead, caller.
Hello, my name is Joe Hauser. I live on Shoreline Drive. I'm a 38-year resident of Milford Township. And of course, in that time, we've seen tons of changes. I oppose the project basically because I like the open areas. I like, again, like the wildlife. I would like to see less traffic on Milford Road, or certainly no more traffic on Milford Road. And no one can tell me that putting 800 houses there is going to make the traffic any better. It can only make it worse. I'm not sure, and I would doubt that there's any other place in the township that has this sort of housing density. And not sure exactly why we ended up doing this. I know that technically it meets the master plan, actually is not as dense as the master plan would allow. And it's too late to say anything about that. It's too late to be looked at. But I'm just concerned that, such as in the village when they approved the Marquette apartments, there was a lot of people having second thoughts when they go by those big buildings. I would hate to see everybody have second thoughts about this huge, dense development at the south end of the township, right next to the freeway where everybody takes Milford Road to get on and off. It becomes a painful for everybody that to drive Milford Road. And certainly it reduces the beauty of the land where we live. I guess that's about all my comment is. The fact that it does meet the master plan, I know there's not a whole lot we can do about it, or maybe you can do about it. But I would certainly hope that there would be a way of making it less of a dense group of housing. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, caller. And one last call to anyone that would like to make a comment. Please press *9 on your keypad. Again, *9. Seeing no hands raised at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So
Moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Wendy, do a roll call vote again.
Gilo,
Aye.
Mallon,
Aye.
Latka,
Aye.
Mazzara,
Aye.
Rishka,
Aye.
DeVry,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Kashkarian,
Aye.
Magro.
Aye.
So
Okay, the
moved.
motion carried. and we now stand closed on the public hearing. I'd like to move on to the matters for consideration old business, Kensington Ridge PUD. Need a motion to open this? I don't think so.
No.
Okay. To open this up, I'd like the applicant, I know you've gone through this a number of times. Can you just run us through this one more time, just for formality of it?
Yes, I have a very short presentation. It's 13 slides. So if Mr. Milburn would allow me to share my screen.
You are all set, Mr. Knowles.
All right, bear with me for one moment while I do that.
Mike, before you get started, I just want to remind everybody what the purpose of this meeting is. And the purpose of this meeting is to discuss the moving forward of this project based on a rezoning. This is not anything about any of the details of it. It's just about the situation of rezoning. So that's what we're going to confine this meeting to. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. I think maybe I just misunderstood you, but this is a rezoning. Is that what you just said?
Yes, that's what I said.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry.
I thought you said not.
I muddled my words. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's
this is
rezoning.
PUD rezoning, not site plan. Yep.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Mike.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Knowles, and I am with the Umlor Group representing Pulte Homes of Michigan. We're excited to continue our dialogue regarding this exciting project, Kensington Ridge by Del Webb Plan Unit Development tonight. For new viewers, we did 2 informational presentations that we won't repeat here tonight. We went through the amenities programming, extensive views from the road to demonstrate the screening and the elevations of the homes. We talked about the design features at length. But tonight we're going to focus on the comments from the last meeting. We got several comments from the planning commissioners. And hopefully I can also work in some responses to some of the 7 callers tonight and the 14 members represented by the 7 letters that were also received. So let's get started. At our last meeting, we discussed the ways in which we've collaborated with the township and its consultants to incorporate feedback thus far, including a frontage walk, an entrance at Maple Road, a Milford Township landscape feature, adding a water filling station for the Milford Township Fire Department, adding a play area amenity. And in response to Trustee Mazzara and Commissioner Lotka's comments, one of the changes that we made is noted on this slide in the bottom right, which is that we reduced the number of the shielded streetlights back to the original count, which will provide safety while minimizing the light, in accordance with the Milford Township Dark Sky Ordinance. A photometric study will follow and will be provided for review during subsequent approval stages, like a site plan, which we are not doing this evening as mentioned. Also, the consent judgment amendment is complete, and we will have more information on the traffic a little bit later in this presentation. Since the February meeting, we incorporated several of your comments to improve the plan in several ways with respect to density, setbacks, public walks, architecture, and traffic. As shown, as requested, we have shown the removed well in the bottom left-hand corner. You can see an aerial of the old well and the removed well, and also the consumer's station that will remain on Maple Road. You can see that to the left where it says preserve at Maple Lake, just to the right of that. Consumer station will stay there. I wanted to make sure that those were clarified as requested. The parcel border for the station was also turned on the revised site plan that was submitted and is in your package. You'll also note that the walk, which I'll get into in a moment, that we put along Maple Road, moves from the edge of the right-of-way closer to the road to avoid the station. You'll see that on the layout of the walk once we get there. Okay. I'll go deeper into each one of these changes as we go through the presentation slides, but this is kind of a nice overlay that gives you an idea of the overall property. With respect to the townhomes, we made several changes at your request. Commissioners Mallow and DeVries requested more information on the Pulte singles and townhome collections. The lot data illustrating the bulk lot requirements, the setbacks and the sizes can be found on each site plan submission in the upper right-hand corner, lot data and unit data, with a breakdown of the mix of products in the site data. Our original townhome architecture, the original entire architectural package was submitted on July 31st, 2020. It contains 5 different product lines with 15 different house plans. For convenience, I'll summarize the collections and the additional changes we've made to respond to the Planning Commission and consultant reviews of our architecture. Regarding the townhomes, we submitted 3 townhome plans with 1 elevation each in the Pulte Townhome Collection. The original elevation is shown on the bottom left corner. And we added additional masonry to the elevations, which are shown in the upper right corner in a rendering and an actual photo of the product in the upper left. You can see some of the quality architectural elements, including shake siding in the nested gables. You can see shutters, 2 different dormer types at the roof line, the nested gables I mentioned, brick row locks, a mix of stone and brick. There's transom windows over the door, columns, and coach lights. One of the things that I wanted to take a special note is the added masonry. You can see those noted in orange in the center of your screen. We were asked to increase some of the masonry percentages. As you can see from the rendering, the first floor on the front elevation is all masonry, except for the garage door. And it alternates back and forth between stone and brick. And the original elevation that you'll note in the bottom left corner had all siding on the second story. So Pulte also does an option where they do every other second story with brick and stone alternating. You can see what that looks like in the photo. It really sets off the siding and gives it a handsome look. So Pulte has changed the elevation. It's the same house, same floor plan, but they've changed the elevation for this project to have the additional alternating masonry panels, if you will, every other unit. In addition, every unit will have brick wainscot on all sides and rear elevations. So you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, I've colored the architectural print so that you can see it a little bit better. You can see a corner of the front, which goes up to the top of the first floor. And then the wainscot is generally 3 feet above the grade. And it holds that level even as the grade falls off. So you can see in a walkout condition, which we will have on this site because of the topography, the brick continues down and it gives a nicer look overall for this townhome product. Those changes were in response to our meeting last month. Moving on, with respect to the Pulte singles, we submitted 3 floor plans with 5 elevations each in the Pulte single family collection, representing 15 distinct home choices. 2 of the elevations for 2 of the homes are shown here, so you can have a graphic idea of the quality and diversity that's being planned for the Pulte unrestricted neighborhood. Obviously, we submitted blueprints for the 15 different elevations, but I think the photos and the renderings are a better presentation in this type of environment for this type of conversation. The singles have a traditional site condominium lots. They're called units, but they have lots. Every place else on the site are 0 lot line in both the townhomes and in the active adult. But in this section, they have lots, site condominium units. They are 60 feet wide by 125 foot deep. They have 7.5 foot side yard setbacks. So there's 15 feet of separation between each building, minimum. A close examination of the homes on the architecture that we submitted to you shows that all of these homes, the ones that you see pictured here and the 15 in your package, are all 40 feet wide. When you put a 40 foot wide home on a 60 foot lot, you actually have an effective separation of 20 feet. Pulte does not offer any side options for these homes. I've discussed this matter with Mr. Score this afternoon. We would be happy to, if it helped the Planning Commission, it's effectively the same thing, but we would be happy to increase the minimum separation between units to 20 feet in this area. It would not change the unit count in any way, shape, or form. The homes we have planned for the lots we have drawn on the plan that was submitted has a minimum 15 foot, but because of the actual sizes of the homes that we've submitted, it will have an effective 20 foot separation, and we can make that change if it's necessary. We usually leave a little bit of extra room for, this project will be a 10-year project, and to be able to add additional houses, maybe a 42 foot wide one comes in that we want to offer, we're able to fit it on the lot. But we are willing to make that if it is helpful. The next slide is another additional change that we made. I should also note, these homes also have a range of brick, as you can see on the front elevation. Some of them go up to the top of the roof gable on the Newberry on the right. Some of them have less, but they're accent. I wanted to point out also that we've added a minimum architectural restriction on here so that all of these homes will also have a minimum masonry wainscot on all 4 sides. So you'll have brick or stone going all the way around the house at the wainscot level for these homes. That was an additional concession made since the last meeting. Okay, so, whoops, I think I missed one. No, I'm good. Okay, so on the Del Webb collections, so we submitted 9 floor plans with 105 distinct elevations in the 3 Del Webb collections. Those were all submitted in the July package. As a result of the setback concerns, we also made the same concession on these products where you'll notice on those architectural plans, there was optional brick wainscoting going all the way around. It's no longer an option. We're including that brick wainscot on all 4 sides of all houses in the entire development. Another thing that we did was in receiving feedback on the elevations, the biggest objection were the elevations that were siding only, that had no masonry, and we've eliminated all of those. So the 105 elevations that you have in your packages, in your hundreds of pages of papers that we've had for the worked on submitting over the last year, there won't be 105 anymore because we're going to take away the ones that have all siding on the front as a result of the feedback that we received. This next slide is an example. I'm using one of Pulte's homes as an example. And what I've done here is this house is the exact same house. All 6 pictures are the same home. They all just have different elevations. And the reason that I wanted to point this out is these homes are all very strikingly different. They all have a little different character. The upper right kind of throws back. It's got some craftsman elements with the shed dormer, but it's also got some Old English elements with the mix of brick and stone across the whole front elevation, and even a Tudor style. It harkens back to some Tudor styles. The upper left you can see is clearly a craftsman-inspired elevation with the tapered columns, the decorative garage door, the brackets. You can see some of those stylings in the bottom middle as well, with the brackets up above and the tapered columns. But each one of these homes has its own unique difference. And what we are proposing is an anti-monotony ordinance. So Commissioner DeVries requested that we take steps to ensure diversity in the streetscape. And this is achieved in multiple ways, mainly through this proposed anti-monotony standard. And what the standard says is that you cannot have the same house and the same elevation directly next door to each other on either side and directly across the street. Now, you could have any one of these houses could be next to each other because they all look very different because they have different elevations. So the same house and same elevation can't be built next to each other. So you don't end up with this, everything looks the same monotony. Second, which you'll see on the next slide, is the site layout. You'll notice all the curves and wiggles in the road layout. This will ensure an attractive streetscape along with the open spaces interspersed to break up the monotony. And that's one of the benefits, which we'll get to later, of doing a master plan PUD community like this, rather than to go with straight zoning that doesn't allow this type of creativity. Last, with the master plan community and 5 different home collections that are interspersed amongst each other, different house sizes, different yard sizes, and various setbacks, which you'll see on an upcoming slide, that the changes that we made they're all intermingled together, which will give a very attractive presentation. We made some great changes with respect to the hot issue that we discussed at the last meeting. I have also highlighted in a blue box on the left corner over there where the consumer's station is for reference. Commissioner Laka and Commissioner Riska encouraged us to consider larger building separations. A 20-foot target separation was floated during the last meeting, and I had the uncomfortable job of indicating that it just wasn't possible with this type of development. However, your input that you gave us did not fall on deaf ears. We took a hard look at how we could maintain the Del Webb design principles and features, which I've gone through at length with you in prior meetings, how we could maintain the product collections that are so important to the Del Webb line, while still collaborating with you to address your concerns. I'm happy to report that we were able to make additional adjustments to the plan to achieve that target in some areas, particularly the northern lake lot areas that have the underlying zoning in the R1R and the R1S master plan zoning areas. You can see in the bottom right corner, I've included just a snapshot of the parallel plan that we included, and you can see where the brown section is. That is current zoning for multi-family homes. If you just do the math on multi-family homes, there's over 1,000 units just in that brown area. But if you look at that line and carry it forward, you can see it lines up with the south end of the open space, where you see on the large plan in green, where I have a legend. If you just take the right side of that green box and extend it straight up, and you can almost see, well, you can see the old Moore Road vacated right of way through there. That's the line. That's the zoning line. And so everything to the left of that is the area of larger lots. Now you see it's a purple and yellow, so it's two different zoning classifications. It's a R1 S and R1R. But the bulk of this site is zoned for high density. And there were several people that were under the conception that the master plan calls for all the lots in Milford to be large lots. And that's just not true, or that this property is zoned for all large lot. And that's also not true. And we went through that. We talked a little bit in prior meetings about which sections in Milford are zoned for high density. This one's been zoned this way since 1972. And you need to include, as a municipality, high density zoning to justify the low density zoning as well. Otherwise, it's exclusionary zoning, which is a problem. Milford does not have that problem because they have multifamily zoning pieces like this one. And what we're doing is we're talking about a way to make it better. So let me continue. So how did we accomplish this? So to accomplish this, we strategically eliminated 5 additional units. So we were able to get the 20-foot minimum separation for every single lake lot. You can see them highlighted in purple. A total of 89 lots around the lake have 20-foot minimum separation. Some have more, like if you look up in the upper left corner at the curve, you know, there'll be more separation between those. Some of the other places by the detention basin, on the peninsula, there's a couple of places. But we have a minimum 20-foot separation everywhere. On the lake. I also highlighted the towns in purple because I wanted to note that they also have 20-foot separations, but that was on the proposal since the initial submittal. So the change here is the purple along the lake. I also wanted to let Trustee Mazzara know that we did investigate his suggestion and looked into the possibility of clustering and angling these units rather than the increased setbacks, which we settled on. The results were a little disappointing because of the steep slopes, which we talked about before. And this is probably important for some of the callers from the Homeowners Association on West Maple. The elevation of Maple Road near the blue box, actually just east of the blue box, is 65 feet to 70 feet higher than the lake. So these homes are not going to be looming over Maple Road. They're going to be significantly depressed down in where you see the lake level. The lake is at elevation 900. Milford Road is predominantly between elevation 930 and 935. Just to give folks reference that didn't see those initial slides. So the steep slopes along the perimeter and the dimensional constraints, you can see how close the lake is to the property line. Those dimensional constraints made it very difficult to turn those units. It created some very awkward house sightings that would not be good either for views from the homes or good for the grading plan and the layout. So we opted to try to improve all of the lots on that side. The other thing, by eliminating every eighth one or every 12th one, it looked like there was just an empty lot. So the other thing we did is on our prior density reduction, when we reduced the first 31 homes that we took out of there for a total now of 36 homes that we've reduced since our initial submittal, we were able to move the road. And so you can kind of see some wiggles in the road where I remember where the pinch point used to be, right across from Milford Ponds, where that cul-de-sac you can see in the upper left corner. That used to be a pinch point. We were able to move the road to where those houses used to be. Same with the ones along Maple Road, where you see they've got the orange strip along the front. We were able to wiggle that road a little bit to give a little bit more undulation in the road, so you're not looking down a bowling alley type of road. The other thing that helps this is the peninsula. So, you've got the natural rotation of the lake and homes following it. So they are kind of naturally angled as you go. So you're not just looking down one straight alley corridor. Okay, so moving on. I am also pleased to mention another request from Trustee Mazera that we were able to accommodate the public walk on Maple Road. That could be a catalyst for potential public community access to Kensington in the future. I noticed one of the writers had some suggestion, I believe it was Mr. Emmons, about, you know, connections and public connections. And I know that this board, this township commission and your township board are looking at expanding the public connections for your walkways. This is a great opportunity. What we did here was we went just inside the tree line. We wanted to preserve the way that Maple Road looks. We agree, it looks awesome. And so we came just inside that tree line, right at the right-of-way line, to create a path that's in a already cleared area that just hugs that tree line. Again, it bumps out right in front of the substation, odorization station, and then back again, and it hugs those trees. And we were able to do a layout with this walk. It's a 6-foot wide walk, proposed asphalt walk. You know, again, we can talk about details at site plan if it different materials desired or something, but we fit in this 6-foot walk. It's ADA compliant, and it goes all the way to the west end of our property, which you see at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. I also did a little inset. If you look to the right where it says Maple Road pedestrian walk in red, you see where that walk ends. I kind of blew up where that walk ends. And what you see is the Kensington Metro Park property actually lines up with the Levy property. So where that walk ends, just across Maple Road, is the Kensington Metro Park. So as you know, we are pursuing a private park connection that is, it's not a condition of the PUD, but we think it'd be great for our residents. And I know that these planning commissioners also think it'd be great for public residents as well. And so now with the addition of this walk, you have the opportunity to also potentially make that connection and probably even have a better chance as a public entity to make an agreement with Kensington Metro Park. We're still working on that as well. Okay, so we talked about the separations. Oh, I also wanted to point out on this slide, we had previously increased a bunch of front setbacks so that it would be 35 feet. We talked about cars, and our driveways have 20 feet clear from the sidewalk to the garage. And that accommodates most standard vehicles. And the planning reviewer indicated that it would be nice to have some additional setbacks for those extra large vehicles. Every site in blue has been increased. It was increased at the last submission, but every one of those setbacks have been increased to allow for those extra large vehicles. It's a significant number of those. And you can also see some of the homes have both setbacks increased. So the ones that have the purple with the little orange strip in front, wasn't really sure how to turn them purple and blue. And so I put the little orange strip. Those have both. Those have the additional front setback and the additional side building separation. So that's what you're seeing here. We talked about the walk and we talked about the density and parallel plan. Let's move on. Many of the commissioners and Trustee Mazera asked us to itemize the public benefits. And I have spoken about these at length at some of our other meetings, and I've written about them at length in the narratives and in the review response letters. But I thought I would consolidate the lists contained in all of those various documents for a comprehensive list shown here. Ms. Alowski noted an important legal matter at the last meeting. A PUD is not tied to underlying zoning. Forgive me if I didn't paraphrase exactly, Ms. Alowski, you'll let me know if I need to be corrected, but a PUD is not tied to underlying zoning. And here's what I believe she meant, what I believe the PUD is and what the ordinance says a PUD is. A PUD is an offer put forth by an applicant when we believe the benefits of our proposal are superior to the underlying zoning. So this list is why we think our proposed PUD warrants serious consideration in comparison to the alternative straight zoning. We were happy to collaborate with you on many of these points that improve the plan greatly as we have proceeded through the process over the last year. I can make this slide, and I can make all the slides available as I did at the last meeting upon request. We can send those in. I think these will become the basis of a PUD if we're fortunate enough to gain your support. The items quickly, which we've gone through before, are the reduced density is a major benefit, right? So instead of 1,100 units, you have 850 units. The traffic impact is significantly reduced in two ways. When you build fewer units, you have less of an impact. And when you build active adult, which this neighborhood is 75% active adult, the population is smaller in the homes and they tend to drive in off-peak hours. So you reduce traffic in two ways with this PUD. The school impact is reduced because taxes are paid and there's very few school-aged children. 150 acres of useful open spaces, the recreational opportunities, pedestrian connectivity, the frontage walk that we spoke about. The rural character continues to come up, and the view sheds and the manicured berms and the perimeter screening that we talked about on a whole informational meeting with cross sections and views really is maintained. Many of you took a tour of the site to see how much lower it is from the road, and you really can't even see Milford Road, and you won't be able to see this development from very many places outside of being in the development. The design elements that we've included are the antithesis of cookie cutter, monotonous, and unremarkable neighborhoods. This is a remarkable neighborhood, and that's what you try to do with a PUD. We've got a diversity of unit sizes, a resort style environment for retirement housing, and attached and detached unrestricted housing. It will strengthen Milford's economic base. It'll support the taxes and intergovernmental agreement obligations. It'll restore the mine with vegetation. We are adding significant new landscaping. The acreage that Pulte is purchasing from the Levy Company is about 345 acres, and it's primarily cleared. There's about 40 acres that are not cleared, but we are restoring the property with abundance of trees. We are maintaining the groundwater recharge through effective stormwater management. We talked about that at the last meeting with the forebays, pre-treating the water, just like Preserve at Maple Lake next door and every other development in the area. Promoting wildlife corridors, you can see that from the large vegetated open spaces that are throughout our development. We're creating a gateway to Milford with the township monument and impressive landscaping. And as you've seen, we have high quality architecture. These are the benefits that the planned unit development offers to allow us to deviate from the zoning. And when we say deviate, we're not saying all of Milford is large lots and we want to do houses stacked on top of each other and that's out of character. That's not what we're suggesting at all. What we are suggesting is what the master plan showed and the 1,100 units that are planned here by right. Instead of that, let's do this. That's the proposal in front of you. Moving on. The master plan, let's see here. Commissioner Lotka and some of the members of the public asked us to describe the ways in which Kensington Ridge is consistent with the master plan. I created this list here to match up with the Milford Township master plan. There's a general misconception that the master plan says that all areas in the township are the same, large lots. This property has been zoned for towns and commercial since 1972. This slide should demonstrate how we do comply with the master plan. And again, paraphrasing Ms. Olowski on an important legal matter to remember, the zoning ordinance is the law, and the master plan contains guiding principles to describe the township's vision for itself. Those are my words, not hers, but that was the sentiment, and it's true. The zoning is the law, it does control. But the master plan does say, hey, look, these are the things that we would like to see in your development. We're pleased that our proposal is consistent with both documents. We are under density from the zoning, the law, and we are also consistent with the master plan goals. So I listed them out here. The master plan guiding principle number 1, directly from Milford Township's master plan, is concurrency, services at the time of development, and sustainability, planning that'll benefit future generations. So the sewer service, the intergovernmental agreement for the sewer service, requires users to support it. The sewer is at the front door. A lot of time, effort, and money has been put forth to allow that sewer to be at the front door to serve this area which was zoned for it. The difference between the preserves at Maple Lake, which is a beautiful development, but they don't have sewer service. And so the zoning on Maple Lake is different than the zoning on Kensington Ridge because of sewer service. Also, water infrastructure. Pulte, as you know from the last meeting, Mr. Score mentioned he would have an answer for our final water selection in the next 30 to 45 days from the last meeting. He's still working on that. And we hope to have something for you on that soon. But as you know, we've put forth multiple options for water infrastructure to bring the water infrastructure that other developments will also end up relying on potentially. And then as well, traffic improvements, which we'll get into momentarily, a couple slides. The economic, recreational, and environmental benefits are part of the sustainability. So smart growth principle is to encourage collaboration in these developments to have all of these factors. The economic, recreational, environmental benefits that I described on the last slide speak to the sustainability in Milford Township's master plan guiding principle number 1. Guiding principle number 3 is I-96 and Milford Road area as the gateway entrance to Milford. So what did we do with that? We added the Milford Township Monument and we landscaped the perimeter buffer. Again, that presentation where we went through, we did cross sections all the way down Milford Road, what it's going to look like, what you can see. That is part of the smart growth principle about fostering a strong sense of place. The Milford Township announcement and just an amazingly manicured development coming in gives you the sense of Milford Township sense of place. Milford Township guiding principle number 4, development pattern, open spaces close to home that encourage walking, physical activity, and time spent outdoors. Well, I probably spent 45 minutes talking about this, I think, on our first informational thing. We have 150 acres of open space, a pedestrian network, and a development that is highly amenitized. I won't go through all of that again, but a smart growth principle also printed in the Milford Township master plan is that walkable neighbors preserve open space. This plan does that. Number 5, conserve natural systems and hydrology and create natural environments for plants, animals, and recreational use. So we're restoring the vegetation on the overall property, as I mentioned, but I think we're planting thousands and thousands of trees. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. We have a full landscape plan, which will be further detailed during the site plan. The lake will be utilized for groundwater recharge, which is a smart growth principle to preserve critical environmental areas, and we're doing that. Guiding principle 7, reject sprawl development and uncoordinated architecture. Encourage pedestrian orientation and distinctive design, protect the rural atmosphere and the visual landscape. Okay, so how do we do that? So we do it through our site layout and density. As I mentioned, we've reduced it by a significant number of units, at least 250 units below what it's called for in the zoning, which is how you reject sprawl. Sprawl is defined by long expanses of very large lots, and it pushes out and uses more land. So we took this high density piece and we're proposing a lower density with a site layout that is coordinated. We have architectural themes. We talked quite a bit about our architectural themes and how the clubhouses and all the design elements and the dozen pocket parks and in the home elevations are all coordinated to create this sense of place and distinctive neighborhood. And also the manicured and effective berms preserve that visual landscape, as we talked about at length. The smart growth principle is you have walkable neighborhoods, which this is. I think we said over 8,000 linear feet of path. We're considerably over that now with the additions. And I think we had 14 miles of sidewalk in here. And also the smart growth principle says employ compact building designs. And we have that. So Milford Township Master Plan Guiding Principle number 8, maintain life cycle housing. So people in various stages of life can find a home suited for their needs and tastes. One of the things that I did, these are paraphrased, right? These are not exact quotes because each one of them is a paragraph or a paragraph and a half or a page. And I didn't want to have it all on there, but it also says affordability. And so that's one of the things I want to talk about here is I heard several folks say they lived in Milford for a very long time and they retired to the preserves at Maple Lakes. Most of the callers tonight were from there. Again, beautiful neighborhood. I had a hand in creating that neighborhood. Levy, that was a Levy property, similar to this one. But what I'm saying here is that not everyone can live in a preserve at Maple Lakes when they retire. Those are beautiful, beautiful homes. And you know what they're worth. They're beautiful, they're expensive, they're awesome. That's an awesome place to live. This is more affordable. When I say affordable, we're not talking about, chintzy homes. Probably the average for across all the different products, it's hard to average 850 with 5 different products, but they're going to be around 400. Some are going to be more, some will be a little less, but these homes are going to be affordable homes for most retirees, people who want to stay in Milford, that maybe want to sell their large estate and downsize into something that meets their stages in life, with a single-story ranch, close to neighbors and friends, close to the churches and hospitals and restaurants and shopping that they have come accustomed to, so that they too can live in Milford for 38 years and have a retirement place that is a luxury amenity at an affordable price, a reasonable price. And so that's one of Milford Township's goals. If this development doesn't do that, I don't know how to do it. 75% of these homes are active adult single-story ranches with amazing amenities. 25% are singles in towns, and they appeal to families and millennials. The smart growth principle of having a range of housing is exactly, if you looked up in the definition of a range of housing, there should be a picture of Kensington Ridge in that area. Okay, moving on. I'm almost done, I promise you. A little bit about traffic. Whoops, I missed the page here. Okay, so traffic. We talked at length about traffic, and we have some real experts here tonight to talk about traffic if you want to get into the details on traffic. But what I wanted to show you is last time you see this overall plan that shows the Robertson Brothers and the crossings and a future levy commercial, Watermark, SOTS, others in Lyon Township, and Kensington Ridge. We talked about adding all of that traffic in and seeing what happens when everybody's done and everybody's built, and lo and behold, it's a traffic jam, right? But what we did here was we took these charts and we said, what is existing? What does the existing traffic look like? And you can see those numbers in the upper chart, in the upper right chart. So what we compared, you can see the existing conditions, the overall rating of the existing road networks at this intersection is a C, which anything above a D is an acceptable level of service in traffic terminology. It's not like, oh, you got a C, you're grounded. No, it works. And it's got a rating of C. And if you look at the very bottom chart, what we do is we compare the existing traffic that's there today with adding the Kensington Ridge only and the improvements that we're adding. All of those green dots that you see are all different entrances to spread the traffic out. They're all, there's 75% active adults, so they don't travel into peak hours. They don't want to fight all that traffic, so they travel in off-peak hours when they're retired. Not all of them. We generate traffic in all ranges. We follow all of the standard traffic protocols. And what you see in the bottom, and this is going to blow your mind, and you don't have to believe me because we have experts here to talk about it tonight, including your own consultant. The bottom with the green box where it says overall, it compares the existing conditions to the future Kensington Ridge build out with the improvements. Look what you see. What you see is that 24.4 goes to 20.6. It's an improvement of 4 seconds. And what that means is that's the delay. It actually gets better. And people are probably got their jaw on their floor going, come on, I can't believe this guy. It gets better. Yeah, it gets better both in the morning and in the evening. Well, how does it get better? How is that even possible? Well, how it's possible are the improvements that Pulte's going to make. And so I'll leave you with this chart. You've got it in your packages, and we've got the experts to talk about it, but I'm going to show you how that's possible here on the next slide. So on this slide, what you see are the improvements that they're doing. And so what I did was I highlighted the areas where we're going to be adding a center passing lane. Right now, there's a center passing lane. It's got a taper on it, but there's a center turn lane right here at Milford and Pontiac Trail. There's a center turn lane right here at Moore Road. There's a center turn lane that Levy installed. They installed a center turn lane, a deceleration, and an acceleration lane when they built this entrance for truck traffic, when the truck traffic used to enter the site at this location. So there are some turn lanes out there. What does it look like? Acceleration, you got a travel lane that is unimpeded going south, a travel lane unimpeded going north, and you have a center turn lane where you can wait for a clearing to be able to turn. It also helps you get in and out because if you're like me, you sometimes hit that center turn lane as you're trying to make that run into a left turn. So that's what it looks like, and we're doing all of those improvements all the way along here. So we're improving the flow of traffic on Milford Road. The other thing we're doing is adjusting the timing right here. Adjusting the timing at Centennial Drive and Pontiac Trail. What do you mean adjusting the timing? Well, the biggest traffic problem, if you go back to that chart that we just looked at, the biggest problem is up over in the westbound left turn lane. Look at that, 19 seconds of delay. But what happens over here after you adjust the signal? Westbound left turn lane, it got him better by 11 seconds. It cut the delay in half. How? Well, you adjust the signal timing to give a longer left turn because that's where the problem is. And what do you do as a result of that? You end up backing up traffic in our own development. I mean, take a look at like what went down. Some things go up, other things got to go down, right? Yeah, you know what went down? What went down is eastbound through. So look at this, eastbound through went from 0 seconds of an A+ down to a 20-second delay. Well, what does that mean? That means people coming off where all the trucks are parked right now, instead of having 0 seconds to get through there, they now have to wait because we've added some additional time to let where it's really backed up, where the real problem is all the people turning left to get down into Lyon Township. We've increased that timing signal as well as added these improvements. And we were talking, I believe Commissioner Davis was asking, will you share in road improvements? And I wanted to point out here that this $654,000, this is a total estimate that I put together for the right-of-way improvements. Now, to be fair, here's 280 in roads and 374 in public pathways. So those paths that we keep adding and saying, well, it's another sidewalk, let's add some more sidewalk. Yeah, it's $375,000 of sidewalk. And we also have this $200,000 of road paving off the site to make these lanes, to make it better. So Pulte is contributing $655,000 to make the traffic work better, including adjusting the timing and doing some of the other things. And then again, I'll let the experts speak about the details if you'd like. I am almost done. This is my last slide, I promise. So last slide. It's been a lot of work over the last year with hundreds of pages of documentation, studies, plans, reviews, and responses. Many people have made enormous efforts to collaborate on this plan. I know you guys, I mean, the meeting last time was 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours tonight. I heard people taking bets on how long it was going to go, and I apologize for my part in making it go longer. But I think these are important things to get on the table. We would like to thank you for all your time and diligence. We would like to thank the neighbors next door who are trying to understand, you know, what is the change we're proposing? Are we making something up here? No, we're doing something different that's better. That's better. We're not just saying, oh, let's do more. That's not what's happening here. So thank you. And I want to close my remarks with this reminder. So we've dived deep into the weeds on the details over these several public meetings, as we should. And tonight we ask you to take a step back for a moment and think about the PUD proposal as a whole. Rather than 1,300 units, we're proposing 851. We're proposing a world-class resort-style development to cater to an underserved market, active adults. We're proposing over-the-top landscaping, over-the-top amenities to reclaim a mine. Our site is significantly buffered from public view. We're so much lower than the street in most places, and where we're not, we've put extensive landscaping in. We comply with a frontage walk requirement that's not yet on the books. Our additional traffic is more than mitigated, as you just saw in those slides, and I hope that Julie Kroll will attest to that, and I hope that Miss Colleen, I'm sorry I don't know your last name, Colleen, Miss Colleen will also attest to the accuracy of those charts that I just pointed out. Look, this is a great project. I'm very proud and privileged to be part of this team. We respectfully request your support tonight and hope you'll vote in our favor. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks.
So is there anyone else from the applicant's team that wants to present? Because this is your time on the agenda for the applicant.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Alowski. We also have a couple of videos if you wanted to see them. They aren't very helpful. They're basically a graphic representation of the charts that you saw, but I do have them if you wanted to see them. And also, Julie is here to respond to traffic questions. Steve is here to respond to ownership questions. Mr. Joe Score is here to respond to any product questions or overall Pulte or Del Webb issues. Mr. Emerine and Mr. Keister here to respond to any engineering questions. So this concludes our presentation portion. And we have all the consultants here to be able to answer any questions that you might have to the best of our ability. Thank you.
So just procedurally, the township consultants, if you're done with your presentation, will speak, and then the commissioners, and you will have an opportunity for a reply. Generally, typically, because there was a public hearing, there will be no further public comment, but the planning commissioners could open that up if that becomes necessary. So
thank you. I understand.
Okay.
Thank you, Jennifer. We've been at this now for almost an hour and a half. Does anybody need a 2-minute break? Okay, Ken, can you count down a couple minutes for us and let everybody get up and walk around their desk or whatever?
Yeah, and I would suggest that if people are going to get up, please feel free to turn off your audio and video at this point, and then we'll have them come back on when you return. Vaughn, I'm going to turn off your video and audio.
Neil too.
Yep, I'm getting Neil right now. Get myself. I think that's everyone. was going to give him about 1 more minute here, George.
Okay, was not in need of arrest. I'm still sitting.
Okay. All right. It's just about the 2-minute mark. People would like to start turning back on their audio and video. We'll just confirm that. If anyone needs any help, I'll see if I can jump in here and get things going again if we need it. Okay, looks like everybody is starting to come back online. Oh, okay, I can see all the video participants. Bill Mazzara, are you still there?
I'm still here.
All right. Okay, George, I think we have Vaughn out still. I'm going to send him another request to start his video. I know he was one of the last ones to turn off his camera, so he may be just trailing a little bit here. I'm going to go ahead and force an unmute on Vaughn just to see. Vaughn, are you there? Okay, he's not back at his desk.
Sherry, when Vaughn gets back, I'm going to ask you to over any open issues that we might have with respect to the rezoning, if there are any. Okay.
I have a presentation prepared.
Okay, good.
All right. Let's see if we can get Vaughn. Vaughn, are you with us? Okay. Well, he's not within earshot of his computer at the moment.
Okay.
In his defense, 2 minutes is pretty short.
Yeah. Maybe he has a long house. He has to get to the other side.
Or to grab a glass of water.
Yes. There we go. All right, Vaughn is back, but Miles got up. I think there's Miles. Okay. Miles, we're getting started here again. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, are you good to go?
You're muted.
Hello?
Yep. Hello, are you good to go, Miles?
Yes, I am. I can hear you just fine.
Okay,
I'm just
excellent.
Plugging in my charger.
All right. So,
Hey, Sheree, would you like to take us through a rundown of the open issues? And, let's try to confine it to just what's still open, not the stuff that's closed.
Sure. I just wanted to have 1 or 2 slides for the public because they had questions about whether the density is being increased or decreased. I know Mike touched on it a little bit, but I just wanted to share the existing zoning map for the benefit of the public that shows the areas that zoned brown or zoned multifamily. The red is the commercial. M3 is the extractive industrial, which is proposed to be considered as a R1R, single family residential district. And I know the applicant also shared the parallel plan, but it was a smaller size. So for the benefit of public, I'm just sharing the larger size plan. This is a hypothetical plan the developer prepared that would be a development if it were developed based on the existing zoning. If they didn't ask, if they're not requesting to rezone to PUD, then this is what the existing zoning would allow. There are some places where there could be a slightly less number of units or not, but essentially in theory, this is what the existing zoning would have resulted in. And this is what the applicant is proposing with the PUD. He is proposing to replace the multifamily units within this R2 boundary with adult, senior, independent senior living homes. This is just a quick slide showing both side by side. So after the planning review letter has been shared with the Planning Commission, the applicant and I had a conversation, and then he provided some updates and clarifications to a few things I mentioned in the review letter. One, the offsite path that is proposed to connect to Kensington Park Trail system, it is not a condition of approval. It is just a bonus. If it happens, if things fall into place, it will be connected. Because the reason why, because it is dependent on other agency approval. And he also provided some clarification on what amenities are accessible to whom. So the clubhouse, the lake, the dog park, and the trails north of clubhouse, they're only available, they're only open for Del Webb residents. The trails, pocket parks south of clubhouse are available for Del Webb and the Pulte townhome and the multifamily residents. And all these amenities and the sidewalks will be identified as private use only by signage. And another clarification with regards to the ownership indicated in the letter, the MDOT Park and Ride site in the south corner near the interstate is not owned by Levy, it's owned by MDOT. It doesn't have any bearing on the PUD, but just trying to provide a clarification. And the entry sign that is being proposed at the corner of Milford and Pontiac, the applicant clarified that they will comply with the requirements and are not seeking any deviation at this time. And the letter still has some references to some architectural recommendations like the side entry garage and a few other things. And those were just left in the review letter to provide a context of what discussion has happened so far. But the applicant presentation included what is being offered at this time. And when Planning Commission makes their determination or discussion, I would recommend that you go with what was presented tonight. And then this is the another just quick summary of the setbacks. So the building separation that is proposed between units north of clubhouse is 20 feet. The building separation between units south of clubhouse ranges from 11 to 14 feet. And the building separation between multiple family homes is 20. The separation for single family homes is shown as 7.5 feet on the plans, but the applicant just offered 10 feet side yard as an alternate tonight. And this is just a summary of the architectural standards Mike went through this night. And I just wanted to get some clarity through chair. If you can, maybe we can ask the applicant towards the end or however you feel. So from what I took notes, for the Del Webb units, they will be brick and stone on all sides up to wainscot. And for multifamily, you'll have wainscot brick up to the wainscot height on side and rear, but along the front, they will go higher, taller up to second floor ceiling. And for single family, it's up to wainscot on all sides. And then they offered to, they said that the architecture style is majority of them are Tudor style or craftsman. They'll include features like brackets, tapered columns, and some of the elevations refer to some enhanced garage doors with windows and different designs. And then they, Mike also went over the monotonous policy for Pulte. Did I capture that summary correctly, Mike? Okay, he gave me a thumbs up, so I'm guessing right.
One item of clarification, if you don't mind, Sri, on the multifamily, the brick and stone was every other unit. So one unit will be brick, then on the second floor. So one unit will be brick, one unit will be siding, one unit will be stone, next unit will be siding, to have a nice contrast between the various materials.
Okay, I'll update that.
Thank you.
And then this is another item that kind of came in the review letter, but I just wanted to provide some clarity on this item. That the REUs that is being referred in the review letter, it is not a zoning term. It just refers to residential equivalent units. And that was just, it does not has any bearing on Planning Commission's PUD determination tonight. The allocated REUs that was referred in the letter, the 1153, it was determined based on estimated density, based on existing zoning for theoretical purpose. And I also want to emphasize that the REUs do not determine or provide any context to determine the allowable density for the proposed PUD. Following the public hearing, based on section 32(5)27, the Planning Commission may take following actions on the applicant's request. They can either approve, make a recommendation to the Township Board to approve the PUD, the rezoning and the PUD concept plan, or approve it with conditions recommended, or deny the request, or postpone action due to insufficient information. So at the end of the discussion, the Planning Commission is asked to make one of these motions. Just to add a little bit of clarification towards what is being asked for approval tonight. The applicant is asking approval of rezoning to a PUD and to approve the PUD concept plan. What is not considered tonight and will be reviewed as part of a preliminary site plan is the preliminary site plan, the stormwater management plan, other agency approvals for RCOC, MD Eagle Line Township, sign permits and tree permits as such. I know the plans that were submitted to the Planning Commission look like a preliminary site plan level of detail. That's because we've been asking applicant to provide clarity, and then the applicant has been equally responding with additional amount of information. But for the purpose of discussion, the Planning Commission is asked to look at it on a conceptual level, because there will be another opportunity to get into the actual design details and specifics as part of the preliminary site plan review. Just a little bit of a reminder regarding the standards of approval that the Planning Commission should consider while reviewing the application. And our city township attorney has distributed an Excel spreadsheet. Chair Magro, thank you for getting that started. That highlights all these conditions in the spreadsheet so that it can be used as a tool as part of your discussion. So there are 4 different references to the ordinance. There's the criteria for review 3233, which applies to every rezoning, not just PUD, any rezoning in general. And then there's 32526 that is for PUDs specifically. Eligibility for rezoning for PUDs. And 32529 is a part of a standards of approval that refers to a special land use standards. Just a little bit of clarity here. This is not a special land use, but the ordinance just recommends that you also consider those conditions or standards as part of your approval. I'll just briefly go over the standards and just give you a reminder of what you've reviewed so far. And then I can bring, I have any document you want me to bring up on the screen, I have access to those. So the first and main one is mostly conceptual. It says the Township Board, also Planning Commission, shall find that the rezoning and the development of such land under the zoning amendment and other standards as otherwise set forth in this division may result in future adverse effects on adjacent properties, established land uses and established zoning districts due to parcel location, size, and natural characteristics. In other words, what it is saying that you should make a finding that the PUD is a better option than what we would have, what would be an existing zoning would result in. The second one talks about a little bit more detail about that we should consider is the planned unit development project provides a public benefit that advances the goals and objectives of the township master plan, managing traffic flow to reduce conflicts to improve free flow, preserving natural features and views, strengthening the rural character, and meeting a demonstrated housing need. And Mike, as part of his presentation, went over how their development addresses the master plan goals and objectives. That is something the Planning Commission can consider. And in addition, so far as part of the Planning Commission packets, you were provided a concept plan, the market analysis, traffic impact analysis, natural resources inventory, and then we have renderings that indicate the proposed screening, conceptual elevations, and the presentations, of course. Those are the things you could consider as part of your making that finding. The other one is that the PUD should provide, does the PUD provide a public benefit or advances townships open space preservation goals? You can refer to the natural resources inventory that was provided, and then also note that the proposed PUD includes preservation and reclamation of that existing lake. The subject site shall not contain less than 40 acres. It's larger than 40 acres, and that it has a sewer, water, and stormwater drainage system of sufficient size. At this point, I just want to emphasize that the determination should just make sure that conceptually, whether the plan is offering these things, but then do they meet the ordinance standards? In detail, that will be reviewed at the time of preliminary site plan. So, but they did provide enough detail with regards to on-site stormwater drainage system. And they indicated that they provided some alternatives for the water supply. Mike just indicated they may have a more definitive answer in a month, but they do have a plan B, plan A and plan B. And then these are just standards of approval. I don't have to go over these in particular because they're just general rezoning, but just want to let the Planning Commission know if you want me to pull these up, I have these available. And these are for the special land use. As part of your PUD, there is an option to approve with conditions. And these are some potential conditions you could consider as part of your discussion. And this is just a list to get you guys started, not the final list or recommended list. It's just based on all the discussions we've had so far and my notes so far. So the conditions could include the minimum building separation as provided, the architectural standards, phasing and timing of improvements such as, the public sidewalks, traffic mitigation, the screening installations, stuff like that. Timing for other agency approvals, like do you prefer that they acquire all the agency approvals before preliminary site plan or before applying for the preliminary site plan? And maybe considering some provisions for some minor deviation so that if they, for any reason outside their control, they have to make some changes to the plan, if we can allow it as part of the plan review. And maybe performance guarantees and some public benefits. And unless otherwise noted in the PUD agreement, the site plan is expected to comply with all Milford Township ordinance review process and standards. I took a screenshot of Mike's presentation tonight, and I just wanted to add my notes to this specific slide that talks about public benefits. I consider them as attractive features for the development, what the development offers in terms of for the residents who are going to live in that community. However, I do recognize that the public benefits that come with this development to the community could be the redevelopment of the mining site. It is a large site and it has been used for mining for quite a while. And this development provides a good redevelopment opportunity. And then the applicant is voluntarily offering to add more corner landscaping at Milford and Pontiac Trail and install a Milford Township sign at that corner. And he is offering high quality architecture above and beyond what's required in the minimal standards we have in the township. And then they are also providing the much recommended senior housing in master plan as part of the PUD development. Other than that, all the other public walks and the stormwater management, they're all great features for the development, but they are required by our zoning ordinance. So they are, that's not going above and beyond, but they are required by the ordinance. But the other four I mentioned are definitely something that's coming up with these developments. I also have access to the slides if the renderings for views from along Milford Road and Maple Road. I have access to those if anybody wants to bring those up. And I think we've talked about traffic for so long. I will probably just refrain my comments on that one because we have Colleen from HRC and we have Julie from FNV who know more what they're talking about than I do. But I have these slides available. Anything you want me to pull up, I'm here on standby if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Mike, do you have any comments you'd like to loop back on before we move on?
Thank you for the opportunity, Chairman. No, I thought Sri did a fantastic job. Thank you very much, Sri. I would probably note that while she's right about a number of the features and the public benefits that are nice features but aren't necessarily legal public benefits in the sense of a PUD ordinance, I might add that the frontage walks is not an ordinance yet. It's one that the township is working towards getting. And so we're voluntarily complying with that before it gets completed. And the other one that I think can't be understated is the reduction of units, the reduction of intensity at this site has to be a public benefit. I mean, that there is a major feature of this plan. You know, I keep saying we're comparing it to what else could be here. And folks, you know, that maybe aren't as familiar with the zoning ordinance or the master plan are surprised by it, but that's a major benefit for this project, and I think that should be included in the public benefits for the PUD agreement. Thank you.
Has everybody had a chance to go through the document that Jennifer sent out, the basically the decision criteria? For anybody that hasn't, let me ask that question.
Through Chair, I'm sorry, I just forgot one last update. We did receive comments back from RCOC a couple of weeks ago, where that is distributed to the Planning Commission and as part of the crossings packet, and then I think it was emailed as well. And they did not commit to building any of the recommended improvements that are in the traffic study, but they agree with those recommendations. But then they clearly said that they're not responsible for constructing those.
Yep, heard that story before. Oh, okay. Anyway, has anybody not had a chance to completely review the decision criteria? Okay, so I assume that everybody has gone through it. So what I would like to do is I would like to make a motion at this time. And I would move that we recommend the board deny the application for the rezoning based on the following facts, findings of fact. Based on the decision criteria, the appropriateness of the proposed district boundary change is that its proposed use will be better accommodated by amending the zoning ordinance. Often, and the answer is no. Evidence of a change of condition. The evidence can be provided in the terms of the evaluation of the land use trends in the vicinity, and there's nothing to support that. Consistency with the adopted master plan, there's nothing to support. Compatibility of the existing land use pattern, and again, there's nothing there to support that. Consistency with the established zoning patterns, and that the proposed district boundaries change does not represent spot zoning. And in this case, it probably would, so it doesn't really comply. The Planning Commission shall find that the rezoning and development land under the zoning amendment procedures, site plan review, and such, the minimum traditional ordinance requirements are otherwise set forth. And will affect the adjacent properties. There's just no doubt about it. You're surrounded by 3 acre minimum and 1 acre in the Maple Lakes. So it doesn't, the planned unit development project provides a public benefit or an advance in the goals and objectives, other than, basically a traffic issue. I mean, the traffic's going to be there either way. So I don't see that as something that's compelling. The planned unit development project provides a benefit or advances the township's open space, and that it does not comply or help with that. Under the no PUD shall be recommended by the Planning Commission unless it will promote the use of land in a socially and economically desirable manner for those persons who will use the proposed land for activities and those landowners and residents who are adjacent. They don't comply. Necessary for public convenience at that location. Compatible with the adjacent land use, it isn't. And if it will not cause injury to other properties, and it does. So based on those findings of fact, I have moved that we deny this and recommend that the board deny the application. And I'll take discussion on that right now.
You need a second, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I need a second. I'm sorry. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I can't.
I can hear you.
I'll second.
Let's have a discussion before we take a vote. Let me just go around and individually call on everybody. Vaughn.
Well, much of what you said, George, I look at it and I've gone through the proposal and I've gone through a lot of good comments that the public has made, and as well as some suggestions and questions. And I believe that a lot of the issue, traffic, I think, would ultimately be solved, particularly with the developers' willingness to participate in that. And I think the water and the utilities issues would ultimately be solved. And I think many of the other more minor issues would be solved as part of the site plan process. But in the end, although I find it to be a very appealing proposal, I really believe that it's inconsistent with our master plan, as well as the surrounding properties. And for that reason, I support your proposal.
Thanks, Vaughn. Mark?
I guess I look at there's the point where the no PUD approval shall be recommended unless the Planning Commission unless, and talk about that use must be socially and economically desirable for the persons around. And I guess that I see that the residents on Maple Road, directly adjacent to that Maple Road entrance, those are the residents that I feel would be most affected by that. And that would be primarily due to the elevation of that entrance and the 8 homes or 10 homes, whatever there, at the very entrance to it. Those are much higher than the homes immediately to the west of that. But aside from that, I guess I don't see how the proposed use is detrimental to other residents. I do believe, though, that the folks on Maple Road would be affected.
Okay. Julie?
Hello. Yeah, I've gone through your list as well to go through each of them. And, you know, so it can be tricky sometimes because the current zoning, which is law of what we have to go through, R1R, M3, R2, and C2, on this big stretch of property, they're proposing 2.4 units per acre. It's quite a difference from what the zoning is on the adjacent properties. And the future land use classifications for this property are single family low density, multiple family residential, and regional business with conservation overlay over top. You know, when we revised the master plan in 2017, we looked at those properties and a bunch of different properties around the township to see how we could better make our master plan work with our zoning ordinance. And that was this is one of the sites that we had talked about. Now, the owner at the time wasn't interested, and this is why of going through that, which is why we have to now go through our zoning ordinance as law and try as best as we can to work with the intent of our master plan. His presentation when he went through those, how everything worked in for the master plan, it's compelling. He said had a lot of great points, but we can't overlook the acreage size and what the intent was in our master plan. I do like the open space. It's a good, you know, when you look at what we could have as far as straight zoning to the PUD, it's one of the benefits of a PUD is to be able to have open space and have this, you know, type of a development. Honestly, George, I'm torn. I really am. So I'm just not sure.
All right.
Can I interject something? I just wanted to clarify the standards that you're all going through right now. So those, you know, there's, I don't know, 50 standards there that were outlined. You don't have to meet every single one of those.
Right.
So I hope no one thinks that. I guess I didn't clarify that. And right as you've been talking, I'm like, do they think they need to meet every single one of those? You know, it's kind of just like, you know, more so.
I agree with you, Jennifer. And it wasn't, when I was looking at them, there were some, in my mind, there were some very serious departures from the requirements are.
Yeah.
And I realized I didn't have to meet every one of them.
Yeah,
But
I just wanted to be clear. I just didn't know if I had confused everyone by sending that huge list of conditions that they don't all need to be met. So
you did a great job on that list, and it was very helpful. It really was. Thank you. Bill.
I just want to make sure you can hear me now.
Hear you now.
I guess I'm sort of, with all due respect, you know, I'm still thinking that a denial at this point is too premature.
Okay.
This is, to me, a large project. PUD or not, it has some zoning underlying factors to it. One is that the whole south end of this large development is in fact multifamily. I think the applicant has done a good job of bringing forth a PUD for the benefits of a PUD and the benefits of the township, except for a few areas. And I hate to throw the whole thing out because of those areas. And I think they've been mentioned. For clarity, Sri, if you could pull up that overlay of the zoning districts that you had up, is that possible? And I'm at a big disadvantage because this meeting had to be postponed. I'm actually working off the YouTube because I don't have the ability by phone to see all of this information that's being presented. So I'm on YouTube, I've got a 20-second delay and it's late. So if you could bring that back up again, I'd appreciate it.
It's up again, Bill. You may have to wait for it to materialize.
So you can see the M3 area?
Yep.
And if you could help me clarify or remember, I believe the M3 district indicates it's R1R except for 1.5 acre lots around the lake. Is that correct? Or is it the whole M3 area is 1.5 acres? The actual text of the zoning ordinance.
I think M3 can be, if the consent judgment says that the M3 can be rezoned to R1R. So that's what the applicant used in their parallel plan calculations. They made the assumption that M3 would be R1R, just as the existing.
I think they made the assumption that it was going to be R1S.
The
Acre-and-a-half
exhibit
lots.
was R1R, and the exhibit was provided by them.
So on that image, let me go back to that so I can look at it. Hold on 1 minute.
Okay,
But you can see the M3 zone right there.
Right.
The M3 zone, I believe, says that the lots around the lake can be R1S and everything else should be R1R. I just want to point that out as a clarity.
Okay.
Because I think what I'm looking at right now is, again, the biggest disruption that I have is for the people that live just north of Maple Road. And for the people that live on the other side of Milford Road, knowing the fact that it's some 40 feet below, I think it's not totally, you can still see it. That's the part that bothers me the most, is these houses that are strung right along Maple Road, right next to each other, 20 feet. I know 20 feet's a lot to some people, but in our community, it's not. And that's the area that is still in contention for me. And a PUD is supposed to be a mutual agreement amongst parties to come up with a solution. I agree with Ron. The traffic will be what the traffic will be. I hate to say that, but you know, it's there. I think the applicant, and I think we can make note that the applicant has indicated that they will, in fact, take part in resolving the traffic. We had some more traffic information tonight. Again, I haven't heard from our own consultant that it's valid. So I just think it's a little premature to go ahead and vote for a denial. I would like to think that the applicant would still work with us along Maple Road. The entrance sign, I'm sorry, but I can't agree with the entrance sign because I think it's a nice feature, but I think it's a favor to the township, and I don't like to attach favors, you know, to the ordinance, to the site plan. Traffic changes, I think they still have to be looked at from our traffic consultant, and then those traffic changes, which appear to be good as much as I could piece it together on YouTube, but they appear to be answering the questions. All I've got to hear from our own traffic consultant. So my question again, is that part of the, if this is decided tonight, is that part of the concept or is that part of the site plan?
Can I, through a chair, can I respond to that?
Sure. Go.
So the mitigations that are required would be part of the concept, but the actual design standards and the design of it would be a part of the RCOC approval and preliminary site plan. But identifying what mitigation measures are required and who would be doing what would be part of the conditions of the PUD agreement. And I'll pull up the slide. The applicant has indicated that they will be building the improvements along their frontage, the additional lanes, and then extend the Centerton lane, and then some signal changes. Those are the mitigation measures that are recommended that the applicant is willing to do and then showing on the plan. But there are certain other measures that are listed in the study, which the applicant's not proposing to do, and the RCOC has said that they are not responsible for the payment of those. And just to give a little bit of clarity in regards to the traffic impact study, we've reviewed, our consultants reviewed the study, and we also got a second opinion from HRC. So 2 consultants reviewed the same study. And we think that the way the study was prepared or the assumptions that were made, they comply with the industry standards and what's asked in the PUD ordinance. The question now is, okay, they've done the study, they made some assumptions, and we've identified a list of mitigation impact. What do we do from here? That's the question under discussion for Planning Commission as what do we do? But as far as the study or the how it's done, I think both traffic consultants are in agreement that I think they met the requirement.
Anything else, Bill?
So that's where I'm at with that right now. I just think it's a little premature to deny it. I would like to continue on with it and see if we can't save the majority of this project by improving what's happening along Maple Road. That's all I got.
Okay. Jim?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm kind of along the lines of Julie and Bill. I'm really torn on this. And I hope I don't sound combative to some of the things were presented. So just the way it's coming across the internet here. You know, we're being asked to rezone to something that wasn't anticipated in the past. Nobody anticipated this kind of housing or living in Milford when all the zoning was created. You know, 0 lot lines. There are no lots in all the Del Webb portion of it. And so what standards we apply, we're supposed to come up with on our own. And I have a hard time just not thinking about what we should have in R1, R2, and then R1R and R1S, which would make some sense in that north part too. And one of the other points I want to make is, you know, we're talking about the benefits, and they went through the whole list of benefits to the township. Remember, this is a enclosed community. The benefits fall within, except the street, the sidewalks, all fall within to the people who live there. Nobody else has access to the sidewalks, to the open space. And in fact, if you look at the map, the Pulte homes are completely segregated from the Del Webb home. There is no access via streets from one to the other. So it's actually 2 separate entities within that entity that don't have access. I mean, yeah, you can probably walk the streets, but you can't drive from one to the other. You know, I know that the water is going to be resolved at some point, but we sure don't. I'd hate to make any decision until we know what kind of water is going to be supplied to it from either Lyon Township or from a well. It does, going through the list of reasons for approving it or not approving it, it does add to the economic base for the township. You know, that's good. Whether it improves the traffic flow or not, I'll leave that to say, well, I'll call it neutral at this point. Does preserve the lake. It eliminates a lot of mature trees being replaced by small trees. It's going to be a lot of time before those are make any significant impact on it. It does not add to the rural character of the township. Going through the other stuff, you know, the developer is, you know, the drainage is taken care of. I think that the developer shall provide the planned unit development project with a township water supply, with a water supply, maybe. Provide fire hydrant, yes. You know, so we go through all this and we come up with a lot of maybes and yeses. All in all, I kind of like the idea, but I don't like how it's coming out on the north end. I drove Maple Road again today. It really drops off. And except for a small part, I don't think too many people are going to see it, or from Milford Road. It really drops off. But I'm wondering also on the calculations, and this is what I don't want to be combative, Michael. I'm really not. So don't take this as I'm trying to explain it. When you moved the setback in the front back to give us 35 feet on most of it, are you pushing the house right up against the slope? So on a lot of space, because the back lot lines, the slope comes right down to the house is what I can kind of see. Have we now just taken the slope closer to the houses? And I guess we can answer that in a little bit. All of the homes that are listed A on the drawing, they have A, B, and C. None of those have been touched with the adjustments to the lines or the setbacks. And the other one is, oh, I know, I'm sorry, let me clarify that. On the A homes, they still all have the garages protruding snout nose, whereas the B and C homes now, the front porches or the other part come out to the garage. So we've eliminated the snout nose on A and B type homes. It's this B and C. The A homes still have a snout where the garage protrudes out past because they're the size of them. Everybody else has touched on most of the other stuff. I think we can work to get something that's beneficial to all of us. And I guess I would like to continue. I appreciate what our planners have done, what the applicant has done. Their responses have been great, and I'd like to continue because I think this is something we could use if it's just slightly modified.
Thanks, Jude. Dave?
Can I just inject something from just a legal distinction? Sure. Your zoning ordinance does contain PUD regulations. So as long as it's property that's over 40 acres, the anticipation for a PD could be found. So I just want to make that distinction that the zoning ordinance doesn't exist outside of the PUD option. The PUD option is a part of your zoning ordinance.
Could you clarify that a little more for me?
Well, you kind of made a statement about you wouldn't have anticipated this and that your zoning regulations are in place, not expecting something like this. But the PUD regulations are actually part of your zoning ordinance. And so as long as property is 40 acres or more, it's eligible for PUD. Obviously, it needs to meet the other criteria, but if you've got a 10-acre parcel, they're not even eligible for PUD. So it's not something that was just created right now for this project or the other project. It's part of your zoning ordinance and it's written in there as if it's similar to a residential district or a commercial district, or it's another type of district. It's a planned unit development district.
Thank you. I wasn't clear. I guess when I said it was anticipating, we have no ordinances for PUD that says you have to have that we can eliminate these zero lots, that you know, that the space between homes in a PUD, I don't think anybody anticipated we'd have a Del Webb thing where all you own is the physical home and you don't own the land around it.
Right.
And so how we handle that land around it, I don't think is defined in our ordinances.
Right. So like similar to other zoning districts that would contain like a schedule of regulations that would list like setbacks. A PUD does not, and that's the nature of a PUD though. It's to get creative with land and not be subject to the underlying zoning. So it does require you to kind of go outside of a comfort zone, because in all the other districts, you have a schedule of regulations that tell you what to do and you have guidelines to follow. But with a PUD, you're just kind of rogue. So it's, you know, what you find is best for your community and a good compromise between the development team and the township team.
Thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate
it. Dave? Dave, are you there?
Sorry, I was trying to get it off mute here.
Sure, you want to take the thing down? Thank you.
I didn't mean to.
So I'm reluctant to recommend denial at this point. The things that I see that are incredibly glaring to the township and to the concerned residents as well, and I keep hearing everybody say stick to the master plan and whatever. A portion of this property is zoned in such a way that we can have 1,100, 1,200, 1,300 homes, and we're reducing this to 800 homes, or 850 homes, which is a nice reduction from what could be. So we're making the master plan, we are sticking to the master plan in that respect. I'm going to assume that some of the setbacks, if you were to put 1,200 homes on that one smaller parcel of this larger parcel would require smaller setbacks in order to be able to get that in there. If it's zoned for that, then we're already dealing with smaller setbacks. I do believe that this is meeting a need for our community. We don't have any large retirement style developments immediately around us. So if residents do want to downgrade and still stay within Milford, I think that does give a benefit to the community. Where I do agree with one of the things that George, you had mentioned was the part where it says will promote the land use in a socially and economically desirable manner for those persons who will use the proposed lands use or activity for those, and this is the part that I think this misses, for those landowners and residents who are adjacent and for the township as a whole. And by making this Del Webb property completely sealed off from all but the residents, I am concerned about that. I don't expect to allow cars of people to be able to drive in, but for the residents that live off of Maple Road, I would strongly recommend that the developer at least open up the sidewalks so that people who live adjacent to the area and also for the Pulte portion of the property to just have one more place to walk. And I would not want to see that all closed off to the public. As far as using the clubhouse and the parks and stuff, yeah, maybe that's closed off, but it should be walkable for the community for this to have at least some sort of benefit to the adjacent people. The design is very nice. I think it's quite upscale. I am concerned about the northern end of the property and the density that's there. So I would like the township to be able to work further with the developer to see if we could come to some sort of agreement to, again, have that buffer zone between the very high residential or the high density areas, and then make it a lower to the north. But outside of that, the traffic concerns, I think they've done what they can to mitigate the traffic. I think that adding tax base to the community without using additional services of like the schools, I think that is a benefit to the community as well. So, I mean, in summary, just because we could have 1,300 homes there if we leave the zoning as is, and going down to 850, I think that really helps the community more so than anything else. That's it.
Thanks, Dave. Miles?
Well, like most people here, I'm kind of torn on this, but I came up with different arithmetic than you, George. I came up with most yeses and complies. Not that I feel strongly that it's perfect in every way, because there's details here that I'm looking forward to arm wrestling with on the site plan review, but they're mostly details. I think the big thing to remember is we're reclaiming a gravel pit. It's a big mud hole, and it's not good now. And the way to make it better is probably not to put $5 million houses in there, because it's a gravel pit. And what this does provide is a big range of homes from relatively small to relatively big, and a range of prices. And of course, the thing about the age ranges, this is good for the area. We don't have that now. There's very little multiple family houses in the township. And a number of people have hinted that you can hardly see it from anywhere. Yeah, there's a couple corners where you'll be able to see roofs, but in general, no, you're not going to be able to see much of it at all. Some, like across the street, is sitting right out in the middle of everybody. This is not at all. This is going to be hidden away. I don't think you can almost get anything better. And if there is some details about view, I think perhaps we could arm wrestle that later on at the site review, because they've been pretty agreeable so far. So I certainly don't want to vote to kill it. In fact, I probably would vote to approve it.
Thanks, Miles. Neil?
Of course, with everyone else, there's good points and points that I'd like to see improved. Primarily on the north end, it's zoned R1R. I would like us to at least consider with the developer if there's a way to increase that area to better meet an R1R standard without destroying the Del Webb community. And we do need in the community and the township an area of housing that is more amenable to a wider range of incomes and people. So I'm 51% on the approved side and 49% on it should be better.
Okay, thanks, Neil. I appreciate that. At this point in time, I think getting approval of my motion is probably slim. Now, Jennifer, can I move to retract my motion, or do we have to go and do a formal vote?
Yep, take a vote on it. You need a roll call vote.
Okay, then let's take a roll call vote on my motion.
It's a motion to recommend a denial to the township board.
Yes, recommended denial to the township board for the findings of fact that I stated earlier.
So if you say yes, you're supporting a denial.
Supporting a denial, exactly. So if you say no, then you're not supporting a denial.
That doesn't mean you're sending an approval to the board.
It just means that this.
We
it
then
just
have to
means that
talk about
this,
it again.
this motion, we have to talk about it some more.
Yeah.
This motion will be denied. Okay. Okay. Wendy, are you all clear on that now?
I'm clear on that. Is
Okay, good.
everybody else clear on that?
Yeah. Start with everybody else.
Yeah.
Don't start with me.
Right. But I do have to call on you eventually.
Oh, sure you do. Of course you do.
Okay. So Commissioner Gilo,
No.
Mallon,
No.
Latka,
No.
Mazzara,
No.
Rishka.
Pardon?
Thank you, Bill. Rishka?
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Thank you. DeVry,
No.
Kashkarian, Vaughn, you're muted there.
Notwithstanding my second no.
So you're no?
Yes. Yes, I'm no.
Yes, no. Davis
No.
and Magro.
I support now motion.
Okay.
Okay, so the motion did not carry. We need
Correct.
further discussion.
I would like to make a motion.
Okay, Bill, that would be great. Why don't you go ahead?
I would like to know if we could make a motion to postpone a decision at this time to allow further work with the applicant on areas that have been discussed as still areas that need to come to a mutual agreement. So that's my motion.
Do we have a second?
Second. Through chair.
Who seconded it?
Neil.
Neil? Okay.
So can we be a little clearer, Bill, about what those areas are that need further discussion? Because
I was going to do that during discussion.
okay, well,
You want me to do it now?
It needs to be part of the motion. Just
Okay.
like if you could
So,
summarize and then discuss them in more detail, but just give like bullet points in your motion and then you can discuss it in more detail.
That would be helpful for staff.
Some of the details I would like to discuss is obviously the north end, to ensure that there is a better transfer transition strip between the Del Webb and Maple Lakes. And I'd like to see that in the area of acre lots. Number two is, I know that the road to the development to Maple was established, but I'd like to have it considered that it be an emergency access only to the same extent that Maple Lakes is. Maple Lakes to Maple Road has an emergency access. Those are the primary areas that I see as still a concern. I still want to have more discussion over the sign. So I don't think I, as a trustee, do not want to take a favor from a developer. So, and then I think we still have to include in whatever decision we make, some statement on water until we get a better understand. We have to have some statement in there until there's a clean description of that. Jennifer, when does the PUD development contract get written?
So the PUD, you're approving the rezoning, or you'd be approving the rezoning or recommending approval of the rezoning eventually. That would go to the board.
Eventually.
The board would then need to approve that rezoning as well. Then planning commission looks at the site plan. You guys figure out those details. That will also go to the township board. Once we know all the components and details, then the PUD agreement, actually that just goes to the board. That does not come back to the planning commission, but that's just a solidification of everything that you've already talked about through the rezoning and through the site plan. But I do want to note one more thing though, Bill. So with the public benefits and PUDs, they're required to have public benefits. And by public benefit, a very popular public benefit that occurs with PUDs is signage. So it's not a favor. It's actually, it has to be an enhancement that's going to affect the public as a whole, not just in its own development. So you've all kind of touched a little bit about the benefits that really are just associated inside the development. The ones that are outside the development would be something like an entryway sign. And it's not unethical or illegal for those to be negotiated in connection with a PUD.
Jennifer, through chair, can I just have clarification?
Hold on a second, Sheree. Let Bill finish up here.
Okay, so then I guess I still have problems with the sign that says "Welcome to Milford" on the way out of Milford.
You can't see it from.
Pardon?
I don't think you can see it.
That is legitimate.
Okay, most "Welcome to Milford" signs are as you drive into not as you drive into Lyon Township. And I'm sorry, but I've got to turn off this YouTube because I can see Jennifer talking. I'm not hearing any words.
Okay.
So those are some of the things that, there's other commissioners that have brought up issues. And I think if we could meet together and talk about them, I think we could work it out. And if there's no chance of working this out, if there's no chance of dropping the density along Maple Road, then I'd like to hear the applicant say that now. So that's my motion.
Okay. I need a second.
Second.
Okay. Now we need to have discussion, and I think Sheree had something she wanted to interject. So go ahead, Sheree. Sorry about that.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify the timing of the PUD agreement. So as part of this PUD, the rezoning request, the Planning Commission is also reviewing the concept plan. So when it goes to board, after board tentatively approves, then we would start working on the agreement, because when the preliminary site plan comes back to Planning Commission for review and approval, part of the review is to make sure that it is in compliance with the PUD concept plan and the agreement that was approved. So I just wanted to clarify with Jennifer, because that's the understanding I have from the ordinance, and that was part of a training.
Yeah, the PUD agreement.
Eventually, the development agreement goes back to the board for approval, right?
Yes.
The PUD agreement only goes to the board, though. And so
right, it goes to the board for approval.
Right. So a lot of times that happens simultaneously with the site plan, just timing wise. But both of those documents, the site plan and the PUD agreement, are conditioned upon to each other. So they're dependent upon each other.
I think when the PUD across the street finally went through the development agreement, it didn't come until much, much after the site plan approval.
Yeah, because we rewrote the development agreement about 1,000 times over 7 months. Then
right.
You're past the timing of site plan. That's what I mean. Like a lot of times you'll start the development agreement and you'll get through the site plan process before the development agreement's finished. So
that's an option. If they want to do it simultaneously, that's an option.
Okay. Anyway, so we have a motion second. Like, let's
other commissioners' discussion.
Yes, that's what I just wanted to do. I wanted to do the commissioner's discussion. I was going to start with Neil.
Well, considering I seconded the motion, I'm in favor of it. And one of the things I'd like to see would be, at least before we get to a site plan, I'm not sure if this is the way it works, but we should have at least one approved and reviewed plan for the water supply for this unit. I mean, so far we've got multiple. I would like us to at least land on one, so that we know what the implications are of the water plan that goes with this before we get to the site plan review. That's my personal view.
Well, I think it's a good idea. You know, I would support. Miles. Jim, mute yourself.
Hello.
Go ahead, Miles.
Okay, there we go. I'd support the proposal. I like the idea of going back to the Maple Road being just an emergency entrance. And a contingency in some way on the water, and particularly the water and sewer, get both those agreements right. I think I'm not in favor of what I heard about the North Shore, but we can arm wrestle that later on.
Thanks, Miles. Dave? Dave Latka?
Yeah, so I don't really have a whole lot to add. I would love to see the township work with the developer to come up with something that will work. I'm not 100% against this, mostly because I don't like the alternative of way more homes, and I really like the benefit to the community of having a retirement community. I think Bill gave a lot of great talking points to the developer, and I'm sure that we could come to some agreement. We could always vote against if we don't come to some sort of agreement. But at this point, I'm in favor of the motion.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Jim?
I have really nothing to add. I agree. I think we can come up with something. We're very close.
Good. Blake?
Did you say my name?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And forgive me if this has already been shown, but I would like to see in the traffic what the traffic study had said that they should do, or what they were asked to do. And I'd like to see what they are doing, and I'd like to see what they're not doing. Like a table of what they're not going to do, or what they said that ROC should do that they're not, that then ROC isn't doing. I'd like to see what we're missing, like what is not happening.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Mark?
I guess I would just reiterate the concerns about the north end. And I like the idea of the Maple Road entrance becoming an emergency exit only. And I'd still like to see some way of addressing the elevation of those homes in the northwest quadrant of it. And as well, there was mention of the water and the contingencies. And I think it would be good to see the implications on the concept if there's a water source. And then last one thing, we have maybe some discussions been had on this, but talk about the phasing. And the most of those mature trees are in like phase 3 and 4. My concern is it stretches out over 8 or 10 years, and at some point it's decided that I'm not going to proceed with the remaining. I would hate to have seen all those trees removed over there, and then everything stops. So that's one I'd like to see some way maybe of addressing that concern that I have.
That's a good one, Mark. Something we should eye on. Juan?
Nothing further to add. I think it's
okay. Bill, no, it was your motion, so I'm gonna skip over you. And I have comments. I do appreciate all the hard work that the applicant has done, and I agree that there's a lot more conversation that needs to happen here, because I think overall this is a need that will be filled in Milford. Just that we need to make sure that we do it properly. We won't get a redo on this one, so I would find myself in favor also of moving forward with a more concerted effort and a more detailed effort with the applicant. I would rather do this in a smaller group, and not necessarily have to do it on Zoom, but but if we can get some key actors, key planners, and Jennifer Orson, try to work out the details of this so that we have something. If we come back to the Planning Commission, have something more substantive that has a good chance of making it through the Planning Commission. that would be my comments on it. So,
So at this point in the planning process, your consultants and staff will work with the development team to try and get as much information. And, you know, we know from your comments, and we can certainly reach out to you, but putting together some type of subcommittee after public hearing is not appropriate.
okay. Well, we probably, I think, would we need another public hearing if we substantively change the, or the concept?
If the concept plan changed substantially, you'd need.
Well, if, you know, in other words, we're talking about really limiting the northern end and doing some other things with roads and things like that. And I think in my mind, that would substantively change section of what the end result will be. And I don't know if we need to go back to the public and ask them for their comments on something that would be refreshed substantially.
So from a legal perspective, let's say the development team goes home tonight and says, scrap that plan, start over. We heard what they said, and we're going to do this on the north end, and it's drastically different from what you've seen, then you would need another public hearing. Otherwise, there's no legal requirement for that.
Okay, that was my question. Thanks for the answer.
Mr. Chairman, can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, Bill. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm talking over the top.
I am running out of battery, and
Okay.
this is
Can we,
everywhere.
okay, do you think we're ready to take a roll call vote on this now?
Yes.
Okay, Wendy, why don't you do a roll call vote?
Okay. So this is the motion to recommend
Postponement.
postponement, right? And I have the list of conditions. Okay. Gilo?
And Wendy, do you have a copy of everybody's comments? Have you captured all their comments?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
He can't see you.
Yes, I do. I have lots of paper flying in here, Bill. Gilo?
I agree with what was proposed, postponed.
And Latka?
Yes.
And DeVries?
Support postponement.
And Kashkarian?
Agree.
Magro?
Support.
Davis?
Agree with postponement.
Rishka?
Yes.
Latka?
Yes already, but yes again.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I missed, did I get Mazzara?
Yeah, I got him.
No.
Oh, okay.
You didn't get me, Wendy.
And I knew I needed Malin.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. So it's
So my vote was
unanimous?
yes.
Yes, I have you as a yes. I heard you. Yep.
So we have a unanimous vote and the
Postponement.
motion carried.
Correct.
Postponed. Okay,
So from here, because your regular meeting is next week, the Kensington will come up probably in your April meeting.
okay,
And so as the consultants and staff will all get together, you know, at like 5 a.m. tomorrow and start talking about everything that
luck
needs
with
to
that.
be done.
Don't call me though, okay? Don't call me.
I'm teasing. So we'll move it along administratively and with the consultants, and we'll reach out to the development team and try and get together the information that you're requesting. And I mean, after this time, I think we have our finger on the pulse, but we can anticipate that this will be at your April meeting again.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jennifer.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
the vote is over. Now, one of the things on traffic, because I don't want to keep going once a month. And I'm glad that the consultants and the staff is going to work on this.
Yep.
But I've asked on the traffic consultant that we see the simulation studies. I've been asking that since the beginning, And I hope the applicant can provide us with simulation studies for the traffic that shows what the current simulation is and what the simulation will be when the different phases come on board, so that we can really sort of understand what that is. I can only do that by seeing the simulation study. That's all I got.
I agree with you. We need to do that. Okay. I'd like to move on to the next item on the agenda before Bill runs out of battery. Commissioner Kashkarian, our good friend Vaughn, has asked to stay on the Planning Commission, but he would like to step down as co-chair. And he was asking us if we could nominate or elect a new co-chair this evening. And Vaughn, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add to that.
No, I've been, I don't know how long I've been on. And, ultimately, I think it'd be good to get some younger people on too.
Yep.
And perhaps also for an orderly transition at some point in time. But so I just think it'd be a good idea to have a different vice chair.
Okay.
And I've agreed that I'd stay on through this term unless somebody comes along that they want to have come on. In terms of.
So you want to stay on for the rest of the year, or?
No. I'm not talking about vice chair. I'm talking about as.
As a planning commissioner. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe it's got something to do with I just had a birthday last week.
Yeah, I know. It's a big one. And to that extent, I would entertain any nominations. I'll let you go first, Vaughn.
Well, I'd nominate Julie. If she's interested.
Okay, Julie, would you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. Would anybody else like to nominate someone else? Okay.
Got it.
Go ahead, Bill.
I think Julie just won.
Yes.
All right.
You won't even need a roll call vote for this one.
Need a roll call
Go
vote for
ahead.
this one? Okay, all in favor of Julie being co-chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Welcome to the team. Welcome to your new job. Okay, that worked out very well. I appreciate everybody's. Can we get planning consultants' remarks, Sheree? If any? You can say no.
No, I think just wanted to give you a heads up. Crossings is coming in a week in front of you, and then we will work with the applicant, and then we'll try to bring them back in April. I think that was it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, there's not a spot on the agenda for lawyers' remarks, but I would like to mention one thing.
Okay. Would the lawyer like to make remarks?
Last night at the township board meeting, we had a site plan come before the board for Indian Lake, for phase 2 of Indian Lake. And it was a little confusing, and I've clarified that for the township board now and for the applicant. I don't know why it didn't come to you first, but it should have, and you will be seeing that at your April meeting, hopefully, because we're going to try and move this along because the applicant, went to the board on some information to go to the board. So they need to come to you. So you're going to see phase 2 for Indian Lake come to you in April as well.
Yeah, that's what Wendy said earlier. So we were kind of anticipating that in April. So.
Yeah, and we'll put them first on the agenda.
Okay, all right. Excellent. Now we can move on to planning commissioners' remarks if there are any. Do you want me to go through, or does anybody want to just jump in?
I pass.
Okay. All right. Neil passes. I'm sorry,
you.
Miles
I
passes.
pass.
Neil. Did you
Thanks for
pass?
passing for me, George. Yes, I
I
passed.
just, you know. Anything, Neil, sorry?
No.
George, I would just like to make sure that we don't lose track of an update on our clear zoning contract.
Oh, yeah, we had a
So
brief
that-
discussion.
I think that's supposed to be next month.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you now have 5 site plan or 5 projects back on your calendar for April.
It's gonna be a nasty one.
Yeah,
Okay,
you have
alrighty.
5 upcoming projects. I'll send you an email tomorrow sometime.
Okay. All right, Dave, any comments?
2 things. One, I think we skipped approval of minutes and I didn't see.
Well, yeah, we're gonna
see the
save that
minutes
for the
in there
next
and-
meeting. We're gonna
Okay.
save that for the next meeting.
Okay, that's fine. And I heard Vaughn had a monumental birthday, so happy birthday, Vaughn.
Oh, thank you.
That's it.
Good stuff. Anything, Jim?
Nothing.
Hey, Julie,
Nothing.
Mark?
For me, thank you.
Okay, and then Vaughn, of course, you already told us about your birthday.
Yeah,
And do we need to send presents and stuff?
No, you don't. I don't like celebrating birthdays anyway. No.
Okay.
He just
All
got
right.
one. Julie's his present.
There you
It's
go.
over.
That was a big gift there. All righty. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I so move.
So you do want to hold off on the minutes and do 2 batches next week?
Yes, let's do that
Okay.
next week. Yep.
Okay.
Anyway, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned.
Wow, that was quick today.
Wow, yeah.
Good
it's